Good afternoon, everyone. It's Sean here from the Brass Cellar. Yes, I've dropped the suits today because I am talking about a little bit of a different horn, kind of the everyman's horn versus, the elite hoity-toity ones of the Martin committees, etc. So, dressed appropriately for the job. It's the North American thing to do, to wear plaid, even though I'm based in New Zealand and it's really hot outside. Anyways, I wanted to introduce you to a cornet today, and it's a cornet that does not get a lot of love, but maybe after this video people might actually start to cotton on to them. So just don't buy them all, because I'd like to get a few more myself. Anyways, I'll just raise this one up right here. This is a Martin Indiana B flat cornet. Standard little guy. This one's in actually really nice condition. I believe it's original. Maybe it would have been relacquered in the past, but if it was, it's a really old relacquer job. Now, when I say Indiana B-flat trumpet, I have to be very clear. There are several different iterations of this model. The earliest ones were the Indiana Band Instrument Company models, which go back to the 1930s. Those ones, when you look at the bell, they will feature a Indian chieftain on the bell that is hand engraved, very important, hand engraved, and they'll also have Indiana Band Instrument Company on them. Next, in the 40s, going through the 50s, was this model here, which basically says Indiana, the Indiana Elkhart, the Indiana Elkhart, Indiana, USA, stamped on the bell. Then during the 60s, etc., they moved on to, they might have had Indiana down the side here with an RMC badge. Or they also, just to confuse the hell out of everyone, have another Indian chieftain bell which features a triangle up to here, and then it has like a wavy pattern, and the Indian chieftain logo is very small on here. So, of the ones to look out for, I recommend this model right here, and I'm going to explain why. And also the earlier ones, but I'll cover that in another video. The reason I love this one so much, because if you compare this one to a Martin Committee cornet, the design is not too dissimilar. Now, the added bonus with this is obviously a lot cheaper too. Now, this is built from different parts from different models. But basically, when they introduced them, they were introduced as a student model, and they were primarily aimed at the marching band, basically to do marching bands, etc., for the schools in the United States. So it features basically parts, these parts here, top and bottom caps, are very similar. Well, actually, they're the same design as the Martin Handcraft Standard. Or the Imperials, the early Imperials, not the 38, 39 ones, but the early Imperials, except for obviously they're in yellow brass instead of the nickel. This little finger ring is actually a throwback to the early Indiana Band Instrument Company ones. They only had the hook, they didn't have the little plate there. They soldered that hook straight onto the lead pipe, so that design hasn't really changed. The bracing here is exactly the same as you would have found on the 1930s Martin Handcraft Imperials as well. Now, an interesting thing also about the, I should talk about this. They don't have the throw because basically it's easier to manufacture this. It just features one long pipe, so it's exactly the same. What it doesn't have is a kick-out slide. Again, for the primarily for the student model, but they are designed longer anyway, so you don't necessarily need to do this if you just lip a little bit. Now, the interesting thing that I find with this, give me a second here. I'm just going to put this down, and I have two bells here. One is the Indiana bell, which is exactly the same as the one that's just on that instrument. And secondly is the Martin Committee trumpet bell. Now look at this. The bend is almost in the same place. The throat on the Committee is slightly smaller, just visually speaking. I would have to break out some calipers just to double check that. The size of the bell, exactly the same. It's a two-piece bell. It features almost exactly the same flare. Again, I would have to measure those accurately to compare. but it's pretty much exactly the same bell. So that's not a well-known fact. I just thought you'd find that interesting. If you can find a set of committee, a valve block, and you've got a crushed bell, you might want to try putting an Indiana from the 50s onto that, and away you go. So, what does it sound like? Let me clear that out there. It's a nice, beautiful little horn. I've got a couple of mouthpieces here, but I'll start with my LCAS. Alright, let's try a couple of pieces. Alright, now that was the LCAS. Let's just swap over. I've got a slightly deeper mouthpiece. I'll show you the same thing. Switch back over to the LCAS, which is actually my preferred mouthpiece. But obviously, when you do switch to that, it's a little bit brighter. I've got a Bach New York 10 down here, which should be a little bit darker. Let's try that. It's a beautiful little cornet, and they're not a heck of a lot of money. They're at least half the price of a Martin Committee cornet. Do they have the same prestige? No way. What kind of situations can you use them in? Just about anything. The only thing I wouldn't use one of these in is a brass band. I play in a brass band, and these are not good for a brass band. But other than that, you can use it for your weekend combo gigs, you can use it as a casual player, you're playing in church, whatever. It's just a great little cornet. Now, speaking about values on these particular cornets, you want to target, if you can, 3 to 500 range. You should be able to pick up a pretty solid example. This one I have right here will be a little bit more, only because I have the original case and I've got all the original paperwork and the original accessories to go with it. So when those situations, you're definitely going to pay a premium for that kind of stuff. But if you've just got a nice quality one, I would expect to pay 3 to 500, 600 plus if it's complete in the case, etc. If it needs a little bit of work, then you have to debate whether or not it's going to be worth it, depending on the work. One thing I would watch out for in any Indiana B-flat cornet or trumpet, check this third valve. I've had several where this third valve has been sticky, and basically It's had a small whack here. There's a little bit of distortion. It can be fixed from a professional, but do you really want to muck around with that kind of stuff? If it's in great condition, definitely worth doing. If it's pretty ratty, probably not worth doing. As with anything with vintage instruments, I'm going to recommend that you purchase the best condition that you can afford, because it will pay off later. You'll retain the value much better. Your resale value will be better, and just the enjoyment you'll get from having a beautiful instrument, I think, will translate into your playing and the way that you feel about the instrument when you pick it up. Martin Indiana B Cornet, fantastic buys, great little cornets. They don't get a lot of love. They should have a lot more love than they do, for the reasons I've just explained in this videos. I hope you found this informative. I hope that you can go out and find some of your own of these great little cornets. Start playing them, send me some videos, send me some comments, whatever takes your fancy. You can get me via the Facebook page, send me a PM if you don't want anything public, or comment below. Let me know what you think. I think these are fantastic little cornets, well worth taking a look at. So, till the next video, I'll catch you later.